Hello everyone, welcome to a vlog number 9 or 10 I think. Um, I am drinking the Panyan Kongu. This is actually my second attempt at a vlog. I did one yesterday. And it was a good one, but there was one moment where I kind of mentioned something and I didn't really like how I phrased it. Um, so I was like, let me do it again because there's also something else I want to talk about quickly. Um, so we'll talk a little bit about shipping, obviously. A little bit about Qimens. A little funny story that happened this week with Qimens and what that means. A little bit about what's coming next month, and then a touch on just something about. Actually, we'll start with this thing the thing I want to talk about, the new thing. So we have the monthly sales, and then we have the referral codes. Referral codes going out a lot. A lot of people are using that. Really appreciate it. It turns out that referral codes and monthly sales cannot be used together. They can't put them at the same time. I saw somebody placed an order and they used a referral code and they got two of the monthly sales teas. And I was gonna like refund them, but I was like, you know what? You saved $10 instead of saving $2. Like the monthly sales would have just saved them like $2 or $3, and then they saved $10 for for the referral code. And I was like, that's fine. You got a good deal. You still got a good deal here. Better deal even. Holy crap! Actually, wow. Basically got it. Wow. Okay. Sure. But it was good. It was good. Anyway. Yes, that's that. Shipping. Okay, let's talk about this tea. Actually, this tea just has so much going on. Just so much going on, and it's been almost a tricky one to talk about. Um, I've had to rename. This is the Panyan Kongu. Panyan is a location near Fu'an, so it's like right outside of Fuding, but very similar to Fuding. A lot of similarities in the people and the food and the tea. Um, Fuding, Fu'an, yeah. Well, a lot of places in Fujian are called start with Fu'an, Fuding, Fuzhou. I'm sure there's more. Um, so Fu'an is when we talk about all this talk about fake white teas. A lot of the fake white teas, according to tea makers, are from Fu'an. That's where you're going to get a lot of the fake old whites. I say this again and again, and I'll keep saying it. Fake old white teas are not as prevalent as people think. Maybe they were before, but right now, enough time has passed, and especially where white tea isn't as popular as it was before. It still is popular, but there was kind of this peak in like 2017, 2018, no, 2000, yeah, 18, 19. There was kind of a peak, and it's slowed down a little bit. There's plenty of authentic aged white tea, and there's plenty of authentic like someone asked me the other day, and they were like, "Can you find a 2015?" And I said, "Yes, you can. It's. I have one on the website. It's not super common, but it's possible to find really quite aged teas, and quite well aged too. In fact, now that I think about it, I might take that 2015 and just block that bad boy up. Um, I might take a good couple ounces, a little bit of a good amount of that, and store that away and try some good aging on that. So yeah. Anyway, so Fuan, but they make good red tea. They have a lot of old red trees. But this tea, I have to say, I mean, there's the minerality and the yencha, and it's like the minerality and the rockiness like yencha, but it's like super floral and super rosy, and there's kind of like Coca-Cola aspect to it. There's really a lot of interesting things going on here, and to the point where there's almost a little too much. And I talk about a structured tea. This tea is really interesting, has a lot of different notes, isn't very structured. Everything is kind of just blobby there. Um, But yeah, but a really interesting tea. I really enjoy drinking it because it is just a ton of flavor, a ton of texture. Really good. All right, shipping. Uh, shipping is shipping. Shipping is shipping. You know, packages are arriving a little bit faster, but still pretty slow. I this week I made a bunch of mistakes. I no, I didn't. I made a bunch of mistakes a couple weeks ago. I guess sometime when there was a butt ton of orders, um, and I made a whole bunch of and I made some mistakes. And I realized the most common mistake I make these days is I label the tea, like I label one of these canisters. I put the label on it, but I forget to put the tea inside. Um, and that's because what I'll do is I'll count up how many bilingual foods I have to pack, and then I print out 10 labels and label 10 teas, and then how many Jin Mudans do I have to pack? I print out Jin Mudans and label them, and then I go fill them. So what ends up happening is I see a canister, my 9 out of 10 canisters. I'm like, oh, it's labeled. Oh, I've packed a bunch of those. This will have tea in it. This does have tea in it. Okay. And then oh no, there's nothing in here. There's no tea. You didn't actually pack that. So there's 2 orders where I forgot to pack the teas, and both of those orders are getting replaced. I'm going to send them out. There was, oh my God, and then there was there was 3 orders that was just so full of bad luck, where I sent them out a long time ago, like months ago, at a different time, and they just got lost. And they just got lost in the mail, and they got lost to the point where like even my shipper got a refund. Because it wasn't like, oh, we delivered it, but they never actually delivered it. It was like, we don't know what happened to these. So got a refund on that. Sent the teas again, and none of the teas made it. 2 teas, I gave the wrong address. The 1 tea I gave the wrong address. Or did 2 teas I give the wrong address? 1 tea I gave the wrong address. 1 tea seems to have there's an address issue. I emailed that person, and 1 tea I just forgot to send out. And I've sent that tea out since. But yeah, I apologize for that person. And then what else? There was another, and there was some other teas where I just forgot to pack the teas, and then there was shipping delays because I ran out of this and I have to wait for this to come back. Like, so right now all the orders are sent out except orders that contained a bunch of teaware. Like there's a few orders recently where it's like 5 gaiwans, 3 cups, 2 gongdao bays, like 2 tasting sets. I have to order more gaiwans and tasting sets. So that's delayed, but that guy lives nearby, so that's going to be here in like 2 days. Tasting sets. Here's a thing to mention. I did add shipping to gaiwans. I think if you get 5 gaiwans, 10 gaiwans, yada yada yada, I added like $5 or $10 shipping, because that is one. Gaiwans are heavy, and like 1 gaiwan, fine. You take 1 gaiwan, but when you start getting 5 gaiwans, that's heavy. That's heavy, and it's very heavy compared to the price. It's very heavy, and then 5 gaiwans is like really cheap, and so that's a big disparity. Disparity, I think, is a good word. And that was hurting my pockets, because that's a common thing. People will commonly get 5 gaiwans along with something. And that really fucks with me on my end. So I did add, if you get 5 gaiwans and 10 gaiwans, you will get a little bit of shipping, which is fine. Qimens. Oh, okay, let's actually talk about something else. And this is the thing I started to talk about in my last video, but I didn't like the way I described it or presented it. I was tired this week, and I'm actually tired right now. I'm just sleepy tired. Potentially, I don't really know why. Potentially, it's an exercise thing. I exercise pretty heavily. Not pretty heavily. I exercise. I'm active. I exercise. potentially I'm not eating enough, and I'm eating. You know, I'm 3 meals a day, rice and this and that. Potentially, there's, and I gotta up the. I just ordered some protein powder. Maybe just get a little more protein, a little more calories. I just might need more calories because how much I'm exercising. Like I'm doing tons of burpees, a lot of boxing, a lot of running. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I was just tired this week, and I kind of dragged my feet on a lot of things. And this is what I was thinking about. And as I finally got around to getting it out, pulling up my bootstraps and sending it out, this is one of the trickier things. I think this is the hardest thing about being a one-man show when it comes to something like this, a business, a one-man business, is that when you slow down, everything slows down. You know, there's not really anyone to pick up your slack. There's not really anyone to urge you on. There's like, you know, it's not really anyone to kind of double check your things. Like, hey, you're tired. You missed this. Um, it's just you. It's all on you. Um, and I mean, look, this is not easy for anyone. You know, 2, 3 people. Still not easy, but this is the one tricky thing that I felt this week. They're like, I was tired, but I still just had to pack those teas, and yeah. And once I get packing teas, it's not so bad. It's just the idea of like, oh, I have to pack 5 orders, oh, I have to pack 6 orders, and the stress of I don't want to forget anything, which I did, which I did. So I think that's just something I thought about this week, um, and eventually, you know, and this is the whole idea of like, and I think I was thinking about like if I was in America this week, if I had this sort of week in America, I would have honestly just hired somebody. Hey, I'll give you $10 an hour, pack these teas for me. I'm gonna go take a nap. No, wasn't that tired, but yeah, just a little bit of help would have been nice. But you know, you get through it. Show goes on. Let's talk about the funny thing that happened this week. Fucking Qimens. Okay, so I don't know if I think I told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again because I think it's a funny story. Qimen Gongfus. So the Qimen Gongfus I've had on the website for at least 2 years. They've been on the website for at least 2 years. Probably closer to 3 at this point. At least 3 years, I'd say. I was in Suzhou when I started selling them. And I started selling them as a way just to get people. I said, hey, here's a cheap daily drinker just to get you drinking Qimens. You know, I fully realized my love for Qimens, and I realized that my love for Qimens came from me just drinking Qimens a lot. And then when you just drink Qimens a lot, you learn to love them. You start to appreciate them. So I knew the key to falling in love with any tea, but I think especially Qimens, was just drinking them. So I said, okay, let me just put this tea at a super discount, really cheap, really, really low markup. The markup for the Qimen Gongfu is very low, like really low. And I think actually, if I haven't upped the price already, I will have to up the price. I think it's about a 30% markup. And I realized this when I put the Qimens Gongfu on sale for 30% off. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch. That might have just eaten my profits. And I think the 100 grams and the 50 grams, I think the higher ones are about 30%. I think the ounce is the markup's a little bit more, but it was cutting it kind of close. But I will have to say one thing. So yesterday, as I was shooting this vlog, I was drinking the Qimen Gongfu that I had just gotten, and I was like, man, this tastes really good. This is really clean. It's really fresh. It's aged quite well. So I'm gonna have to buy more. And here's my story. And it's talking about buying more. I realized so when I first started selling it, I wasn't moving that much, and I put it as a low markup because I wanted people to drink it, but also because it was a flawed tea. It was a little bit rough. It was a little bit tannic. It was a little bit smoky. There was all these things about it, and I was like, this isn't. I can't really put it much higher because it's quality-wise, it's not that good. And so a little bit of glare here. It's actually really cool. And so, but then it got popular, and it got popular in part because of the price. So another thing to keep the price down. But it got popular, and people were drinking it. And a month or two ago, I messaged the Qimen guy, and I was like, hey, how much of the Qimen Gongfu do you have left? Because I've been buying it for 2 or 3 years. And it's Qimen Gongfu is not a particularly, I'm sure I told this story. It's not a particularly popular tea within Huangshan, within Qimen. They like full leaves. And you can get a bunch of it. It's really, the yield is pretty high. And I was like, hey, how much do you have left? And he goes, oh, I have a ton. I have a ton left. And I said, great. So I messaged him last week because I had run out and somebody needed a pound. And I said, hey, I need to get a pound of the Qimen. And he goes, okay, do you want the better one, or do you want the higher quality and the lower quality? And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, are you out of the one I had before? He goes, yeah, I'm out. And I was like, you son of a... I asked you about this. I asked you. And you specifically said that you had a ton. And I think the problem is, when I was like, hey, do you have a lot of Qimen Gongfus? He just thought in general. In general, do you have a lot of Qimen Gongfus? So in general, yes, he has tons of Qimen Gongfus. Not particularly that price point. And this is a mistake I've had. This is something I've run into many times. So I told that story last week. So okay, so I got more. I got a pound more. That pound went directly to this one person who got a pound. But then I went to pack these other orders, and I needed 200 grams of all these other orders combined, and I only had 50 grams. And I was like, okay, fuck, I need to buy more. And so I said, okay, let me be smart about it this time. Let me buy 2 pounds, 3 pounds. Because up until now, I've been going 1 pound at a time. Because, individual teas weren't moving that fast. And so 1 pound at a time 1 pound could last me 2 or 3 months. And when it ran out, I had plenty of time to get it again. But now that orders have increased a little bit, we're going through it a little bit more. And so I'm like, okay, let me get 2 or 3 pounds. So I got 2 pounds. And then I was like, you know what? Let me get the Qimeng Maofeng, the forest fragrance. Let me get the Qimeng Maofeng from last year. And he was like, great. And so the next day, a day or two later, he sends it out, and he sends me the receipt. He sends me the bill. Okay, 3 pounds of the Qimeng Gongfu, Qimeng Maofeng, and then I saw the price of the Qimeng Maofeng, and it was way too cheap. It was not the right price. It was way too cheap. I said, no, wrong one, not that one. And he was like, do you mean Qimeng Maofeng, or do you mean the Qimeng Shangluo? And I sat there for a second. I was on the street, and I was like, oh, fuck, the forest fragrance is the Qimeng Shangluo. God damn it, shit, I feel dumb. Yeah, you sent me what I asked for, and I asked for the wrong thing. So I said yes. I meant the Qimeng Shangluo. So that arrived today, and I had to send it right back. And so the forest fragrance, and I already have a ton of forest fragrance left, but I'm being safe and I'm restocking. But at the end of the day, what this means, and what I'm going to start doing, starting this tea season, is I'm going to start buying in bulk up front. So I don't run into this. I don't have to worry about this, because also this is tiring. I think this is also what tired me out this week, of do I have this? Did I run out of that? I need to restock this. I need to restock that. Just these little and so it's also me. I have to be organized, and I have to see when I'm running out of things and be like, okay, I'm running out of this. But I think, but yeah, that was the funny thing. So I think in the future, starting this season, I'm going to start holding. I think at all times I'm going to have at least 2 pounds. I'm going to have at least 2 pounds, and then so when I run out of 1 pound, I get another pound, and then if I run out of 1 pound, and then the person says, hey, this is the last pound, I can go, okay, this is my last pound. I can kind of know when it's coming. Yeah, that's that. Oh, yeah, okay. So what's coming up next month? Next month is kind of an interesting month. We are coming up on Chinese New Year. Year of the Horse is coming. This will mean for a short amount of time, shipping will be closed for about a week or two. So that's that. And then after Chinese New Year, I will send out the next round of subscription boxes. Subscription boxes are going to be Silver Needle themed, and I'm still kicking around because I still feel like I can make it a little bit better. But it looks like what's going to happen now is we're going to have a Guanyang Silver Needle. Guanyang is a well-respected place within Fuding. So it's going to be Guanyang Silver Needle, and that's going to be a boom. This is a good Silver Needle. And then from there, we're going to have a slightly later picked Silver Needle. And this later picked Silver Needle, which you're going to see is much bigger. It's a very clear difference visually. Used to be the standard of Silver Needle. When Silver Needle wasn't selling for such a high price, they would pick it a little bit later. And the reason for that is when you pick it a little bit later and the bud's a little bit heavier, it's easier to get a pound. It's easier. The yield is higher basically because the buds are bigger and they're heavier, so it's easier. A day of picking older buds might get you 4 pounds. A day of picking young buds might only get you 2 pounds. And so when you can't get such a high price for the younger bud, you're going to do the older bud. But it's not much older. We're talking days, a week. I'll ask. I'll find out. And still a good Silver Needle. But I think that's going to be a cool thing. And then from there, what I'm thinking is I have on hand already, which is the reason I want to put it in, the Fuding Da Bai, which is a earlier cultivar. The Fuding Da Bai Silver Needle, Old Tree Silver Needle. This is a 80-year-old tea tree, Fuding Da Bai, Zheolong, I think. Zheolong Fudang. I don't know if it's over the Fuding line. It might actually be over the Fuding line, so it might be Fuding. Fuding. Yeah, really good tea. Really good tea. I've sent it to 1 or 2 people, and one person who got it loves it. It's a really good tea. I have to send it to somebody else. I'll message them after this. And I think that's just a very interesting Silver Needle. And my only hesitation about this box is that I wish it was a little bit more connected, that the Fuding Da Bai does seem a little bit random, like 2 normal Silver Needles and then an Old Tree Da Bai, that's like 2 separate variables, an Old Tree and its Da Bai. But it's still a good Silver Needle, it's still a unique Silver Needle. It still will be a cool side-by-side, because the other 2 are going to be Fuding Da Bai Hao, Da Hao, which is the most common cultivar. So I think what I'm going to do, also with the Fuding Da Bai, because it's Old Tree, it's expensive. When I put it in the box, it's going to be a little bit limited. Tasters are only going to get 1 sample. Explorers might get only 2. But what I might do is for the normal one, I have one that's kind of the baseline, and I might put like an ounce of that, and then one sample of the Fuding Da Bai, and like maybe 2 samples of the other price, the later picked one. And so what you can do that way is you can go, okay, taste the Silver Needle by itself. Okay, taste the normal Silver Needle against the picking. Look at picking stuff. Okay, taste the normal one against the Fuding Da Bai / Old Tree. Okay, what's that tasting? So I think this giving you a baseline, a center, a controlled variable, and then giving you 2 outliers, 2 more unique Silver Needles, I think that's a cool experience. It's a cool experience. It's good. It's good. I wish they were tied in a little bit more. There's a little bit more controlled variables, if you will. Like if it was just an Old Tree, or if it was just a Fuding Da Bai, I think that would have been a little bit better. But I have it on hand, and it's good, but I'm not drinking it a lot. And I actually do want to buy from this guy more, and I do want to work with him. I want to try his red teas. So yeah, so I think that's gonna go out. Also, I do want to see what people think about it because if people really like it, I do want to put it on the website. But it is more expensive. But then I also realized I looked at the website and I was like, well, it's actually not more expensive than it's not much more expensive than the vanilla aroma. I think it's like a little bit more expensive. The vanilla aroma is $30 an ounce. This might have to be like 35. Yeah, I guess I should just put it on the website. I'll send out the tasters and then I'll see. All right. So after all that, we have February. That's the 27th. I send out subscriptions. March. Tea season. March is tea season. Now then the tea season begins. And once Chinese New Year ends, everyone in the tea market starts thinking about tea season. Because it's right around the corner and posts are about leading up to tea season. Posts are about fields and getting fields ready and checking the plants, and the plants are going to be ready soon, yada yada. And then tea season. So tea season generally, we're going to obviously talk about this a bunch more, but here's the general outline, the line of the schedule for tea season. I guess outline works. End of March to early April. No, not end of March. Early April. Bilochun. Last year with Bilochun, I accidentally got the picking that was one too early. Like I got the first pick when I usually like the second pick. So this year I'm going to be more careful about that. We're going to buy a bunch of Bilochun because even though I got a pick too early, it still sold really well. I really liked it. Wasn't as good as the year before, and everyone kind of agreed with me. But yeah, it's going to be better than last year. So looking forward to that. Maofangs, the plan is to go to Huangshan. I want to spend like a week in Huangshan. I want to spend like a week in Huangshan and really look for Maofangs and really go to villages I haven't gone to before and go to places within Huangshan I haven't gone to before. Because the thing about Huangshan and really any mountainous area, but Huangshan especially, I think, you have these tea producing villages and they are separated from each other. And so when I was living in Huangshan, I knew of villages. I just didn't get to go to them because when you can't drive, going to them is a bitch. All of the teas that I sold in the years, the Shashan, the Hogu, these are accessible. These are for some reason or another accessible easily. Bus to a bus sort of thing, bus to a taxi, but usually they're near scenic spots. So they're on a bus's route, or when you say something to a taxi driver, they know. I want to go somewhere new this time. This time I want to go to Fangchun. If you've been with Swedish Stew for a while and you remember the peak of Maofeng, Swedish Stew Maofeng, you might remember Fangchun. This is my friend's family. They make tea, really good Maofeng. I want to go to Yakeng. Yakeng is a little village that like 1 year I got a really nice Maofeng from them. So go to Yakeng. Jiulongkong is another place that I've been before. I really want to go to a lot of different places. And then I also want to go to Qimens. This year, I want to go to Qimens and personally, and really go and not work so much through middlemen and whatever, which is okay sometimes, but I want to be able to go to my main sausage shop and say yes, no, yes, no. Yeah, that's it. That's gonna be it. So we have the Maofangs. Dingu Dafang is after that, working with Jing, Shang Luo. After that, so that gets into kind of late April. Late April also is potentially Hokui. I would really like to get some Hokui this year. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but once again, with these new orders, these new amount of orders, I feel comfortable getting riskier teas that are not going to sell as quickly, but will still move eventually within a decent time span. Um, After that, we have white tea, and this is something I didn't really realize last year, and it kind of messed up some things. White teas really don't finish as a whole until like early May, early mid May. The white teas will finish at different times, depending on the maker and how much they let it rest. But the people I work with tend to not finish it until late May. Early mid May. And then after that is Tia Kuan Yin. Tia Kuan Yin is finally getting some love. My Tia Kuan Yins are finally getting some love. I've been working with one maker for years, and I've always supported them. I've talked about them every year because they're really trying to make quality Tia Kuan Yin, when a lot of people are just trying to make Tia Kuan Yin just to make it, they're focusing on the quality more than the yield, when a lot of Tia Kuan Yin makers are just focusing on yield. And I talk about them every year, and the last 2 years especially, in the years up until recently, they were good, and you could tell they were going in the right direction, but it wasn't quite there yet. But then the last 2 years, they have produced some phenomenal teas. And I've tried to put them on the website, and I've sent them out in mystery boxes, sent them out a lot. And, Tia Kuan Yin is not for everyone, and I think a lot of people also are kind of thrown off by the lower quality Tia Kuan Yins that do flood the market. But recently, in the last week or so on the Discord, I've seen a lot of good mentions about my Tia Kuan Yin. Someone emailed me today and was like, "Bro, your Tia Kuan Yin was amazing. It was such a journey to taste it." And so yeah. So I'll get some Tia Kuan Yins. I unfortunately won't be able to go to Anxi, because going to Anxi is a fucking hassle. Anxi is a hard place to get to. Train to a bus, So, but once again, I've been working with this family for a long time. I've gone to their place before. I have videos on YouTube from years ago from their place. So really look forward to working with them again. And yeah, and that's it. And then we have second season, which is where I find all these other teas that I couldn't. Yeah, second season. We'll talk about second season later. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I think things are getting better. I'm getting more organized, and that's gonna take a lot of strain, a lot of stress off me, and make things better. I'm not gonna less mistakes, and the thing about mistakes is, yeah, less mistakes. And yeah, things are gonna go smoother. Things are only gonna work from here. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having a whole bunch of new green teas and getting green teas out there and working with people. So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you. Bye bye. Where's my mouse? There it is. Goodbye.